Hey, Bartolo.
Hey, Martello.
Hi, Bartolo.
I missed you. Not really. That's okay.
I'm
We
on
won Pride
so
Week.
many pain medicine right now
Why are you on pain meds?
because I hurt my leg. So I literally have not left my bed since I got home.
Oh, that's hilarious.
No, it's not because I can't walk. It's that bad.
That's great. So, you won, Bartello. I don't care. But let's talk about Frankenstein. Is that is that cool? That cool now? Yeah,
Good.
cool. Okay, Nathan, you want to read the question?
Sure. Alienation and isolation is a commonality between the three main characters in the novel: Frankenstein, the creature, and Walter. Is the reason for the loneliness the same? Discuss this and how the loneliness creates a connection between the characters.
Okay. Um, so I think that between Walter, right, Walter and Frankenstein, I think it's the same. They both choose to be alone. They're both, I don't know, antisocial introverts that are also kind of crazy. They're essentially me, but in worst form. And then not Frankenstein, the monster is all ugly, and also like me is forced out of, you know, being cool. He's not cool because of his looks, and I think that's kind of what alienates him more than anything. Is people look at him as different, and I think they want to avoid the different.
Actually, originally I wasn't going to agree with you, Todd, but I was going to agree with you, but I actually think now that I think about it, I think the monster and Frankenstein actually deal with the same type of alienation because you have to remember, Frankenstein is from Genova, which is in like what Germany
Geneva,
or
I think it's Geneva.
Geneva, and most of the classes are in like in front. He goes to college in like England and stuff, and so
Hmm.
he's probably alienated by well not only his looks but his accent, like I think the both. I think at the time we don't really see the alienation because we're just thinking, oh, he's just super smart. He chooses to be alienated because he's not with his family. But when he's at school, I feel like he's alienated because of where he comes from, and similar to how the monster is alienated because of how he was created.
Yes, but Frankenstein still chooses to do everything he does. Like, the monster is not given a choice. The monster was born, made, whatever, just existed like he is. Frankenstein, he could have friends if he, wasn't crazy.
Well, I don't think he actually
Um,
has a choice. Oh, Mo, you can go.
Thanks, guys. Um, I feel like they're all the same, all three of them, for the reason of, oh Jesus Christ, come back to me. Um, I was gonna say for the reason of it being like they were all abandoned in some sort of way because, and this is the reason I feel it because they tried to be more than what society had already pegged them as. Like not Frankenstein, the creature was already a monster, and he tries to become human. He tries to get a mate and all this other kind of stuff. He tries to live a normal life, and society does not want him to do that because they consider him different, like apart from them. So in that way, he's kind of rejected and abandoned. Um, Walton, he tries to go on and find something of value to him to have recognition, and as a result, like people probably don't think the same way he does, and he's abandoned. Same thing with Victor.
Okay, so you think they're all abandoned?
Well, like I feel like they're abandoned by society because they try to be more than what society pegged them
So, okay, which one of us do you agree with in our little argument here?
as.
'Cause that's what I want to know now.
Well, I agree with the fact that well, I agree with you actually.
I have a
I know
supporter.
this is just not me.
Hell must be frozen over.
It is. We also won Pride Week, so that's probably why I'm doing this. But okay,
Anywho,
All right.
So, do you think we addressed the Martellus question? Because I'd like to bring up an interesting point.
Yeah, it was actually, I think, the longest we've ever talked about one of her questions. So,
Yeah. Okay. So, one of the point I want to bring up is something that's not really highlighted, but I noticed is that, when Frankenstein was talking to, I mean, not Frankenstein, when the monster learned French, and the monster learned French, like that was his first language was French, and I found that very interesting considering that when you think of French, it's a very like flowery language and full of like beautiful, and it's supposed to be like the language of love, but it's only met with like, and he learns it in Germany, which if you actually listen to the German language is harsh, full of like a lot of harsh sounds and such. And I found that an interesting sort of comparison to how the monster tries to be open with or try to use all this beautiful language only to be met with such harsh feelings from other humans. Well, humans.
yeah, um,
Mm.
it's an interesting contradiction there. I think this book it's full of a lot of like contradictions. I guess. Well, I don't know if contradictions is the right word, but like there's not a lot of gray areas with a lot of this book. Like it's either like, you know, black or white. Okay.
Go in.
But I think like, you know, that French contradicts so much of like the way he acts, not the way he acts, but like the way he is portrayed. That like, I think, you know what I'm trying to say. Like this book, it seems to have very like segregated perspectives. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Anything?
I mean, I'll just touch on the language and then ask a question. I was gonna say, with French, it not only represents like love as a whole, but like more specifically, I feel like it represents like love that's somewhat ending or something of that nature. Like it can represent love coming together and love also ending. So him being abandoned and everything like this, he's kind of alone and by himself. So I understand the implementation of French in the novel itself, but him also trying to find love. That's I feel like both of those subjects complement why French is probably being used in here or something. Okay. Um. So I had a question. Cool. I was gonna say, we know in the last couple of chapters that um the creature went to exact revenge on Frankenstein. And we see the continuation of it here. I ask, is the fact that the creature exacts revenge on him makes him more or less human?
Does the action of revenge make him human?
I would say yes.
I would also say yes.
You want me to be devil's advocate and I'll argue no?
Yeah,
I was about to say, I'll be devil's advocate either way. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
All right.
You want? Okay.
Doesn't matter.
So for the yes part, it seems like it definitely makes him more human because before he was literally like a baby like deer who was just stumbling around in the world, didn't know what was doing, and him actually murdering something is like him actually getting blood on his hands. He's now becoming like Cain. Yeah, from Cain and Abel. Is that the one who killed the brother?
Yes.
He's now becoming like Cain by actually killing somebody, like his first kill, like the first kill of his kind. Compared to how Cain was the first like documented murder.
Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna argue yes as well because apparently Monique wants to argue no.
I mean, I don't care.
So I think murder, well, not murder, like revenge is kind of part of our nature, and like you all bash me all the time because I think that human nature is negative, not positive. Like we are born bad because everyone's terrible in some way.
I don't bash you on that. I agree with you.
Okay, well, most people bash me on it. You're one of the few people who don't. Apparently, thought you did. But I think that it's interesting that like the monster, we're kind of seeing that too. actually no, we're kind of seeing a contradiction of it more than anything. I'd say, like in the start, he was like this. I mean, kind of sweet monster, I guess. Like he was nice, and then as he gets, as he's growing, he's kind of becoming worse. And so I think like that is what Shelley's perspective on what humanity is that humanity is like, you know, it's not nature, it's nurtured. Like this, that's what she's trying to show here, and I think that
Yeah.
that's her way of, trying to make the monster seem more human. I mean, I don't agree, but
So you're basically saying it's human nature for us to seek revenge, but it's us nurturing the hatred in the monster that wants him to create revenge, that wants him to enact revenge.
I think that's what Shelley wanted us to take from it.
All right, Mo, devil's advocate time.
I feel like this makes him less human in general because it's more like it seems like the society he's being around is starting to corrupt him and strip him, thus making him more monster, less human at this point. And he's actually playing into what he is, a monster in that case. Um, I would say by him being like a part of the society, it's starting to show him the bad things because at first you saw that he was so in tune with nature, he was like Tyler said, a sweet monster. But now that he's interacting more with society and more so his creator and sees what he is in reference to his life, he's becoming less human due to the fact that he knows more. So I feel like he's become less human because of the knowledge he knows about humans now.
But okay, can we
But
argue here?
let's
Okay,
go a little
we
bit.
can argue with you. I'm pretty sure you don't agree with what you're saying either, but I think that the fact that he is doing all this because of the knowledge that he has gained through humans makes him more human because he's learned this stuff through humanity. Like this is what humans do. This is how we act. We're a bunch of pricks. I think that makes him more human.
But I feel like we're not inherently bad.
Trigger.
That's the thing. I don't feel like we're inherently bad. So us bringing like us interacting with certain humans in society causes us to be, I guess. Like I guess I'm not more so arguing whether he's more or less human. Like I'm probably arguing whether he's more or less moral in this case by the end because of him killing and all that.
Is he
I guess
morally in the right for killing him? Is that what you're asking?
That's
No, I'm
definitely a
saying
no.
I'm saying like I was about to say I guess I'm like arguing that point in a sense a little bit, but I was like I don't think I am.
No, that's not what you're arguing. I think what you're arguing is that I don't know. It's weird. Like I think,
I realize my arguments are always weird. I'm sorry.
yeah.
It might. I think it might be in the same gray area as like when the Romans killed Julius Caesar. They killed him, but they did it because they didn't want him to take over. So it's sort of like something like that, where the monster, yes, he killed Frankenstein's brother, but he was very much entitled to.
Thank you, Nathan. You help.
But I do believe your original question. Yes, I do believe it makes him more human.
Yeah, it definitely makes him more human.
So do either you got a question or do I shoot again?
Is that directed to me? I couldn't actually understand the word you said. But
I said, do either of you?
yeah, okay. I'm just gonna talk. Okay. So I wanted to raise the point because apparently I like the Bible and I notice these things because I'm apparently a smart cookie.
Super Christian.
Yeah, Jesus. Okay. So like Frankenstein is in kind of a really weird and weird way is kind of like God. Like it's weird. So hear me out because I saw Nathan's face. That was his normal face of you're an idiot. So if you think about it, he makes this dude, right? Like this is like 7 foot tall, ugly monster.
Oh.
And then this 7 foot tall ugly monster is like, yo, I'm horny. And so
Oh.
Victor goes to make him a woman. And so if you look at that, that's Adam and Eve in a nutshell for you.
I don't think
Um,
Adam said he's horny. Okay.
And then if you look at it too, it's kind of a little weirder. But like Frankenstein creates something that kills his brother, and killing a brother. Now, granted, this is a little more skewed because like timelines and who's kid, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But like killing of a brother, Cain and Abel, baby. I think there's a lot of parallels with Victor being a really crappy god, but I think there's some legitimate backing behind it. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you.
Darn it, Nathan.
I feel like it's Shelley's way of giving us, of literally making humans God and saying why we shouldn't try to play God because we're too morally, like we have too many mixed up
Morals?
ethics and morals towards it. Because God must be a neutral party in most aspects, while we hate, we are quick, we hate, we get sad, we get scared. Like Frankenstein was originally going to build the wife, but he started thinking of, oh, what would happen? What if this happens? What if this happens? He started fearing the free will of the monsters.
Yeah.
So I think this is like Shelley's messed up version of what would happen if God saw us as we are now. If he just didn't see, if he gave, instead of it just being Adam, what if it was like a bunch of people and he decided, and then he saw basically Shelley's doing this messed up version of. I lost my train of thought.
Okay. Would you like me to pick it up? Oh, okay.
Nah,
Oh wait, Titus, you can pick it up, but I have a point.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to talk about how I think it's also who is echoing. Holy crap.
Just keep going.
Okay. So I think that Victor is kind of, after hearing you talk, I think he's kind of like what God would be like if he wasn't omniscient. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if he didn't know what was going to happen, like he would, I'm talking like, like words. I'm saying a lot. I recognize that. I think it's interesting how she kind of gives like this God figure, like, human characteristics, and kind of like an interesting perspective of what if God was human? Like, how would things have progressed differently?
We would have never got made.
Yeah, we never would have
I
existed.
feel like, why do I have an entirely different take on this? This is terrible.
Oh, fine, whatever. Just disagree.
It's always me. I don't think like the relationship between Frankenstein and the creature was to be how if humans play God. I think it was more so how Mary Shelley actually felt in reference towards her actual God or whoever she believed in at that point in time. She might have felt abandoned or something like I feel like she was Frankenstein and that she was reflecting how she felt that the God that she believed was a bad God because he might have abandoned her at one point or something like that. Or she felt like her life was going downhill because she actually lost her kid and stuff at one point. So I feel like because of a rough patch of her life, she might have felt abandoned just as the creature was by their own God.
Ooh. What? Nathan,
Like I said, kind of far.
I don't get it.
Indifferent.
I don't either.
Yeah, I am lost with that.
I was saying this is just a parallel between how she thinks of her God.
Oh,
That was just the simple version of that. I realized I had
okay.
to talk.
Okay.
So wait, so you're saying like I don't know. Do any of you know what religion she was? Or she
I'm
was
saying she pretty sure she was Catholic.
Definitely Catholic.
Catholic? Ugh. Just kidding.
She was born in London, England. She was definitely Catholic.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So are you saying like maybe when she wrote this book, she had like a I don't know, like a lapse in her faith. That's what they would say. Like you can kind of
Yes.
like if you're looking at Victor as a God figure, like she was like maybe God isn't perfect.
Yes.
Okay, I can get behind that. Makes sense. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Are we
Thanks.
done with this point, or do we have anything else to say?
Um,
I think I'm done with this point.
Yeah, I think I'm good. Okay, next point. Go, someone.
I got one. It seems like okay, and especially in the story, it seems like the women of the story always seem to be like the good, like more always good, and the man of the story seems to be like always bad. Like back to what you you said, Titus, about how it was being how the story seems very segregated. It seems very segregated in like sex as well, because it seems like whenever the monster come across a female character, they always represent some sort of beauty, whether it's like morally, religiously, or like physical beauty in a sense. And the men in the story always seem to be like evil. They seem to be the only ones doing the bad actions. And I just thought that was particularly interesting.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hear what you guys thought about it.
Well, I agree. I mean, that's definitely what's happening here. I don't agree that men are the worst because we're obviously way better. But I think it
Alright.
also, you
I'll
know,
cut you off just a tiny bit. I feel like the women aren't necessarily good. They're more so leaning towards neutral in my case.
chaotic
Just
neutral.
because I believe that they're neutral. I don't believe that they're inherently good necessarily. I just believe they're passive. They really just have a purpose of like being a companion to the god. So in that case, I feel like the fact that they are passive acts as like a foil to show that I guess the guys are more evil. Who knows?
I don't ever think
But
that they're passive.
I feel like they are.
Honestly,
I
I
don't
don't.
know. It's just a thing where whenever like the Frankenstein's mother, the picture of Frankenstein's mother, the girl sleeping in the barn, like they are always been synonymous with like a good vibe, good vibes. I don't think they're passive. I just think they might be passive in their actions, but they're not definitely not passive in the mind of the monster. He sees them as a sign for good. He sees that as his only way for him to enjoy happiness. In order for the only way for him to lose all his anger is for a female. I don't agree with that. I'm just that's what it says. That's what it seems like to me.
I know. I'm just okay. I have a dirty mind. I should probably get my mind out of the gutter. Yeah.
But the fact that the women are good in this case and everything like that, and that the men seem to be corrupting them in that case, do you feel like this is kind of like Shelley taking a jab at men during this time? Like women are being corrupted by men a little bit, and this is playing into like a feminist kind of
I
thing.
don't think she was
I
taking
don't
a jab
think
at
she's saying
men.
that women are being corrupted, because I think it's more of the fact that it's like I think the men are correcting the monster, but the women living side by side don't really do any. They aren't getting corrupted by the men. It's just the monster being corrupted by the men.
I think it's more her taking a jab at like society more than anything. Like just in general, not like men corrupting them, but like just how crappy society. Like I mean, this is a long time ago, so this is pretty. Wow, yeah, it's bad. But like the words, like there's still misogynistic society was still very much a thing. And I think it was her saying, like, men aren't great. We are, but I think it was her trying to show, we aren't perfect, and we should not let them have everything ever. Right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yay! I had a coherent sentence.
Good
Woo!
job.
Yay! Okay. Next
Ooh.
point.
So I was just doing a little bit of research. I was just doing a little bit of research on Mary Shelley, like the author. Yeah, and it turns out that she felt alienated when her father remarried the second and third time.
She did feel
Fair
alienated.
enough.
I was just wrong about what she felt like alienated by.
Yeah, I'll
I
just
mean,
throw that in. Throw that into Bartel's question. Yeah, so you could technically throw Shelley in the same bus with the monster in Frankenstein.
yeah,
But anyway, continue.
okay.
Um, so I have a question. I was going to say, uh, the creature. Do you feel like he is a materialization of sin,
Um,
or someone trying to
no,
atone for it?
no, I don't.
I
I
don't think
th-
the
oh wait,
monster.
wait. Are you saying that the monster is sin, or that the monster's representation of Frankenstein's sin?
I guess I'm arguing both. Well, I'm asking two separate questions in that case. Then
Okay, I do not think he is
you can
sin.
address one.
I think that he is like he's for a 7 foot tall, scary looking dude. He's pretty cute. Um, he seems really nice, except when he kills people. Um, you know,
Minor downside.
yeah, I mean, it's not that important. But I think if he hadn't been corrupted by people, it would have been great. And so in that way, I don't think he's sin. I think he's like man's shortcomings more than he is sin. And I'm not going to argue the other point. So someone else.
I agree with Titus. I feel like the monster's more. It's not. He's not the physical manifestation of sin, but he might be the reflection of Frankenstein's sin, in a
Yeah.
sense. Because while Frankenstein does not seem to want the affection of others, that's all the creature is looking for. Is someone. It's someone to make his existence worthwhile, because he doesn't have the inquisitive side that he has, the inquisitive side that Victor has, but he goes more towards that he wants to be more close to people rather than away, and rather than just seclude himself.
I
Hmm.
felt like since he, I might be wrong on this, but I felt like since he was what is it? Like just I guess becoming hardened by how society was starting to reject him and how he started to feel alienated. He started to more so represent sin and just like the kind of hatred and everything, like the driving forces behind it to people sinning, just like the hatred and the feeling alone and like wanting to have a satisfaction of sorts, whether it's like emotionally or like he got the gratification of like, hey, I exacted revenge on the person my bad, who messed me up.
He only really truly shows one sin, and that's only like wrath. Like he only gets angry. He doesn't really do anything else. He only hits people and just kills people out of anger, which is interesting because that seems to be his only motivation. Is that his only motivation to do bad is that he's just angry. Like he doesn't feel greedy. He doesn't feel like lustful. He's just angry. It's not his pride. It's just anger.
I mean, you could argue the lustful part with the asking of a woman, but
I don't think no. I think he legitimately thinks that a female, based on what he's seen so far, a female will help lessen the anger, because like he saw with the peasants that even though Felix was troubled, he still wore a smile because of his wife. I think the monster at least legitimately believes that he's not he doesn't want a woman out of lustfulness. He wants a woman out of the peace of mind it gives him. Peace of mind.
Yeah, I see that. Like, sex isn't everything, fortunately. Um, yeah, I think I agree. Like, he wants this girl because it makes him happy. Not even happy. Like, it makes him, I don't know, just a better person, right? And by person, I mean giant freak. Um, but I think it's an interesting concept just because I think that's like what a lot of people do when they get married. I mean, like I don't think people get married just because they find someone attractive. Like they have to find something else better to it, you know? Like
Yeah.
I think it's kind of Mary's like reflection of that. Except for, they dump the body in the river. But that's besides the point. No one needs to know that. So
I
we
just
have
think
8
that the
seconds.
women are great.
No, they're not. Men are the best. We've done everything. Also, if you would like to watch a great video, look up Family Guy. Thank the Whites.
Turn this off.
Wait, before we talk about this, let me end this.
No. Bartholo, look it up. It's the funniest thing ever. It's the funniest thing ever. It's the best. Please watch it. Do it. I know he hasn't ended it yet. I still see live. I still see it.
Bye,
Charlie, you should do
Bartello.
it.